Mr. Beggs.
Here. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 9th, 2023.
I'll do that, Morse.
Support Walker.
Fort Walker, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Wendy.
Second, Morse.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Any public comment for courts and public safety? Got a good crowd with us this morning. Welcome. Thank you. All right, Mr. Stockhill, consideration to increase pre-hospital care and transport rates for Life EMS. Yes, please. Couldn't remember where you're at in the crowd.
It's a Campbell bug.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. I assume that you were all submitted or received the rate increase request that was last updated in 2021. We periodically do these. Were there any questions in regarding that? What I would like to preface this with, these rate increases affect a very small percentage of the calls we do. The majority of our calls are covered under Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, and Priority Health, which all have negotiated rates that are pre-approved, and they don't affect those whatsoever.
Do we have?
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was.
You saw it, Fred?
I believe so.
I remember trying to look for it and I couldn't find it and I forgot to ask the question.
Did I email it to you, correct?
What the,
I did email the rates to you.
yeah, and I emailed, I sent them to them.
Is it in a separate email?
It's
Is
in a
that-
separate email.
Oh,
I
that's
believe, yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, yeah.
I thought I included those in the packet, my apologies, but they're not showing in there, but,
Tim?
Yes.
Well, you're looking for that. I remember looking at the comparisons on the, existing and the increases, and they didn't seem to be that much of a change to me.
I
Jeff,
will point out the one that stood out to me, and I actually, because this is the third day in a row I've been before commissioners, doing this, but, the one that stuck out to me, and I actually called our executive VP who does this. I said, well, it's the ALS on-scene assessment where we don't transport. And, I said, there's a huge jump in this county that didn't occur elsewhere. It's up to where the rest of them are. And ended up talking to our building in a previous addendum that was submitted in 2021, somebody transposed the price from, instead of $549, it was listed as $459. So, which had actually went down with that.
I
So,
emailed those to you.
Okay, I see now.
What's the date?
Just now.
Oh, just now.
No, I emailed them,
Oh.
I had sent them to you previously, but I just emailed them to you again.
Stand by while we process.
Yeah.
okay.
Is it like about 3%, looks like, in that range?
I couldn't tell you on every county
Yeah.
contract that I've looked at, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Small amounts.
Yeah.
So these are charges that these would be pay out of pocket, people that don't have insurance, stuff like that, or is
We
it?
collect about this much on people that don't have insurance, and pay out of pocket, so
Uh-huh.
that's not an issue.
Gotcha.
What, probably the biggest thing that I would like to take away from this is that if we don't increase some of our rates, we're due for a Medicare, or not, I'm sorry, a Blue Cross increase. If we don't raise our rates, we're leaving money on the table, which
Sure.
helps us operate with,
Yeah.
within our current subsidies and,
There's no
without
doubt.
coming back to the table and asking our price increases. Tracy, did I, even, was it 20% or 30, it was 22% maybe here that we've seen in the last, 3 years of operational costs?
Yeah, nothing's cheaper, that's for sure.
In our simply, just to put it in perspective, over the last 12 years, Medicare has averaged 2.5%.
Alright, everybody had a moment to process, any questions?
Again, Mr. Beggs, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I had, looked at both of them. And for over a 3-year period of time, the increase that there was, I did not feel as though it was unreasonable at all.
No, it doesn't look like it's either.
So it is something that I can support with an increase on it without a problem at all.
Costs go up. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
How's your staffing then?
Good.
Or we're good?
So I'll include some of that stuff in our next quarterly report.
Yep.
But honestly, and to quote one of my supervisors, who said something to me, he goes, if you'd asked me a year ago, we'd be staffed like we are today, I would have said there was no way it was gonna happen.
Good.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
you're not in the bus like you were.
No, it's actually trying to remember what I actually did all the time. We're getting back to focus on moving forward versus, catching up.
That's great.
It's an entirely different,
Atmosphere,
absolutely.
good.
Wow, that's great to hear.
Alright, any other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Jeff, appreciate it.
Nice jacket.
Thank you.
Alright, that's the right place in my agenda here. Yeah, any department heads like to report for courts and public safety?
Oh, wait. It's early.
It's early.
I can do real quick, cause I have to
Okay.
be on a webinar.
Yeah.
State. Just that time of year, we're working on grant maintenance, so there's a lot of stuff going on with that. We will have a renewal of our Code Red emergency mass alerting system. Agreement will be going on, the grant has been written and submitted for review. Once that's done, it'll come back to you guys for approval. But right now, it's at, Windsor with, review to make sure everything's in order for that. And that'd just be another review, which we will ask for direct payment, which means it doesn't have to go through our process. It's direct payment from the state, so there's no out of pocket from the county. We're also working on a large exercise for the Federal Electric Regulatory Commission with Wellington Pump Storage in Mason County. This is a 5-year functional exercise. It's mandated by law for them. It's a very large event where the feds are coming in to review that exercise, and it has a major focus on response of emergency personnel in this exercise. So we've been working very hard on regular meetings on that. That'll be coming up in June. That'll be held up in Mason County. So that's keeping us with that too. And then we got a couple other exercises we're working on, locally with the Coast Guard and all the emergency services with the Water Safety Coalition, which is the 2 counties and the Coast Guard. And then just so you guys know, this meeting, every time at 11, I have a mandatory state emergency managers meeting with the state police at 11 o'clock. And today they just notified this morning on the way here that there's gonna be a special meeting with the Michigan National Weather Service at 1 o'clock to talk about incoming weather. If anything materializes from that, I'll forward it out and let you guys know what comes out of it. But everybody gets the weather blast pretty well, so we usually don't broadcast that. But if there's something different that comes out of that webinar at 1, I'll get it out to administration and she can forward it out. Any questions?
Sounds like blizzard this weekend, and that's what it sounded looking like anyway.
They've already started a state incident report, because it's called my SIMS report, which means there's an emergency incident report already started to state. So as things go on, we have to report. So if we start having power outages, if we have warming shelters, which we don't usually have to do that, or we had any major incidents like in the highway shutdown, I have to declare that to the state through that reporting system. So that's already been established, so evidently they think something's coming in, so we'll know
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock.
It just complicates it's January, expect winter weather, is that?
Yeah, it's Michigan, I don't know what to tell you. If this was happening in Arizona, it would be a major disaster, but for the weather service to schedule an appointment, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know.
Great.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thanks.
You warmed them up.
Yeah.
Gary McKean of Cheyenne County Parks. Tonight at 6 o'clock out at Gales Pond, we'll be having our second winter walk through the park. We have, the parking lot has been shoveled or plowed, and we already had 50 people sign up. It'll be a self-guided walk. We have candle luminaries that are spaced around the perimeter of the path. And last 3 weeks ago, we had 70 people, and it was a great time. It was a winter solstice, and tonight we're gonna redo that. And it's a bonfire we're gonna do this time. And Carrie Wilson, our educator from the Conservation District, is saying she's gonna lead some singing. So I'm not sure what that'll be. I will not be partaking. I'm a good listener when it comes to singing, so it's better that I not do that. So that's basically what we're doing with parks right now. Owl Prowl is coming up in February at the Ottawa Nature Preserve at the Conservation District property. And we'll have one more winter walk at Gales Pond in February as well. So they've been very well received by the public and lots of families and kids. And Phil, I think you were there the other day, and we hope that you might come out and visit. Good, thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Any other department heads? With that, any public comment?
Hi, Chris Conroy, 560 South Hancock, number 21 in Front. I wanted to mention that with regard to the relationship with the Marine and the Coast Guard, that we have been working with the Coast Guard to try to get a buoy off of the rocks, the mermaid rocks. And we're working on some fundraising adventures. But if you are aware of any grants that
Sea grant, look at the sea grant, that would be organized, it's the public entities and our products.
Okay, great. And then I also wanted to say that HR 4729 is a bill that contains getting workman's compensation to include health and heart and respiratory diseases for our firefighters, which are not covered right now. I should say for all first responders, but I have a firefighter son, so I'm kind of leaning that way. If there's any support that the commissioners can give to that bill, that'd be great. Right now, I understand it's still just in committee, but I'd love to see that go through.
That was 4729.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? All right. With that, we will adjourn courts and public safety.
Okay, moving on, I'd like to call to order the Finance Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Morse?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here. I'd ask for approval of the meeting minutes from December 21st, 2023.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that, Morse?
Motion by Beggs, support by Morse. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda? Tracy, did you wanna add?
Yes, if we could. There is a change to the bid that we received for the financial package for BSNA and for the timesheets that we approved, that the board approved during the budget process. We had received that bid roughly a few months before, and they increased the cost of that, and so I would like the board to discuss that.
All right, we can add that right after consideration of the resolution supporting the tunnel-based solution prior to the administrative review. That works. Are there right, with that change, I would ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Erickson,
I'll support this.
supported by Beggs, all in favor, aye. Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public, comment at this point for finance and administration? Lee?
Lee Heslop, Crystal Township, quite a lot going in the valley. Let's talk about public response. So the Drain Commissioner sent out some special assessments to both the township and to the citizens. I think it would be pretty good if we could figure out how to communicate. This whole organizational politics is difficult because we have to air our laundry in the public, and so sometimes the nerves are a little scratched. But we were getting a number of phone calls, why are we getting a special assessment? If we simply got a short letter from the Drain Commissioner saying this is where the money's going and this is what it's gonna accomplish, I think that would help us a lot. Moving on to the subject of the parks and the dam, we have, as Gary knows, we've been faced with an issue that we've stumbled with 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years or more. And as a result of our putting in for $1 million grant for, in conjunction with you, we didn't get the grant for the park. And what research I've been able to do is there were two main reasons that we didn't get that, is we didn't provide an adequate maintenance schedule, and we didn't provide a description of how people would be transported through the park. And one of the examples was by skateboard. So it seems silly to me, but the biggest part there is it doesn't look like, even from the township level or the county level, we don't have an established maintenance program in writing yet. And I think that we should work on that, and I think it's gonna be difficult, it's long overdue. It seems to me if we put $10 per family, we'd raise what, or there's 20,000 people, let's say there's 10,000 homes. We need to get a pool going. Gary needs the money, I think the whole county needs the money, and it looks like every organization that wants to provide grant money wants us to have at least a 5-year plan. Fortunately, we're working on that plan there. We've worked on the plan for hazard mitigation. It's my understanding if we don't have a plan for hazard mitigation, we are then no longer able to get compensation for the government. Fortunately, we never have that kind of an incident here. What's going on in the township, you know that we've been working on the road project. We've made great traction on that. There's been involvement by the 7 farmers. Excuse me, I've been able to involve the U.S. Commerce Department and Windsor Dick and the Road Commission and the USDA MDARD. We're now in talks on how we can move forward with an $8 million project. We're currently working on a $5 million grant. How we get there, time will tell. We have a new clerk signed in, Bethany Seymour, awesome young lady. We'll have a new assessor Monday and a new trustee. I hope you'll welcome them on board. Curtis Burdette contacted me and asked me if I would represent the county at the Michigan Economic Development next week, and I'll go down there if there are any messages that I can carry on your behalf. That's an area that I'm not well versed in, but Lord knows I love to ask questions and I'm not afraid to talk if somebody asks me to. So I hope to be down there with Harbor Farms. We're agriculture. I've had great conversations. It's taken me nearly a year to do it, but I'm actually getting some pretty good responses from all of our representatives and our senators and our congressmen. I had a great conversation with Kelly's office last week, or not Kelly's office, Peter's office, and Kelly Lively will be contacting me a couple weeks when she gets back from Puerto Rico or someplace where they don't have blizzard warnings. And we're gonna talk about agriculture in Oceana County and our ag business here, in an area that she has 10 years of experience in and 5 years with the senator. So a lot of good things happening in the valley. Come out and visit us. We may have even better roads soon, and we're working on that. Any questions?
Is it too early to talk about peas?
Peas are gone. It's my understanding that Arbor's no longer gonna process peas, so Mondo, who has that nice building on 126 in Monroe, is shipping out 5 of his million pea harvesters, and that'll leave him with an opportunity to find new work. I suspect there may be some farmers here that could use some help. I don't know, they've got some pretty good organizations, but that's not good news. I hope that we can turn that around. You watch the news, we just had applesauce that was tainted from another country. Why do we do that? Why aren't we processing that here? We have apples hanging in orchards, and it's what little research I could do. Some of them are turned down because the camera rejected the color. Why can't you turn it into applesauce? Talked to another farmer, and they had, I'll probably get this wrong, cauliflower, I think. Working with the USDA, I was told the USDA the government can't get enough food to serve all of their requests for their food programs. So this farmer for 2 years had a 5% nip on his product because the color wasn't just right. Is it really that important? Let's find out. There's just so much. So you guys have a full plate. Let us know how we can help you. Communication is a big thing. I can't help, Bob, you've got an experience with building and just got a letter from the insurance company. What happens if you don't maintain your roof? They drop your insurance. And it's no longer you can put 2 or 3 layers on, you have to pull one off and replace it. That's kind of probably gonna get into the conversation on the dam and our parks. We don't start putting some time into a small budget to build a pool for funds, we won't have some good parks to take care of the people. And that's really what the federal government wants and the state government wants, and now they're kind of pushing us, well, if you don't have a plan, we're not gonna give you any money. So it's, we can do that. It's not that big a sell. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you very much, Lee. I can't tell everybody in the room how much we appreciate Lee and what he's done out in Crystal Township. He's jumped right in and he's made an impact. He brought Kyle today with him, and good to see you, Mr. Oman. The valley is beautiful, and it is agriculture. And Lee has moved in and really made a difference in our county. Working with Curtis and going out to Harbor Farms. Thank you very much for the time that you've spent.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Great Lakes Energy, my understanding is Olson is gonna be on.
Yeah, if
Zoom.
we can get this to stop blinking. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Do we need Pickard?
Huh?
Amy?
I mean, I can start the Zoom easily and it'll be showing on my computer, but it's gonna keep blinking up here.
Technical issues for them.
It's not this part.
I'm not kicking the cords.
Unplug it.
No.
Yes, that's not right.
Look at that, Gary fixed it.
Hold on a second. I might have fixed it already. It was blinking. Okay,
Gary, you should have been in IT.
thanks.
I have a wife that knows when the dryer goes out to go down and flip the breaker.
Casey, can you hear me?
It's Cassie.
Cassie, sorry.
Casey, you're right.
Oh,
All right, sorry.
That's,
My apologies.
look at that.
My apologies.
Alright, Casey, I'm gonna turn the laptop around so you can see the board members. But we're gonna they have a copy of your presentation, and we're gonna let you go ahead and get started on that. Okay.
Can I do a little info, why we invited her and everything, and who's Dean and
Sorry.
so just, hey
There
Cass,
we go.
hey Cassie.
Casey.
Casey, Phil Morse here from the board, also on the broadband committee. Just want to thank you for being a part of this. Just so everybody knows why Casey's with us today, or how that was arranged. There she is. Dean is on the committee. He's in the crowd, and Chris Conroy's also on the committee. She's in the crowd as well. And we were talking about, hey, we got to keep the momentum going and keep the information flowing. And so Dean volunteered to connect Casey with our group and give us an update. So that's why Casey's here today, or virtually, and there we go. Thanks for being here, Casey.
Thank you.
And Casey is from Great Lakes Energy, so for everybody.
Oh, I'm disabled from sharing my screen.
Okay, now I gotta figure out how to do that.
Which I could appreciate, because I was a little nervous when I told Zoom, because we use Teams, so I'm not real familiar with Zoom either.
Okay, go ahead and try it.
Oh, can you see it?
Alright.
Okay. Are you able to see me as well, or just the PowerPoint?
Yes. We can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So, good morning, first of all, and obviously I'm Casey Osgood. I'm a communications specialist for Great Lakes Energy and TrueStream. And I want to thank you first and foremost for inviting me to come talk about my most favorite topic, which is TrueStream. Very passionate about it. I started out as a member service rep in the call center right when TrueStream first launched, and got to hear all the stories from all of our members all the time about when is it coming, we need it. And then once COVID hit, I was a TrueStream fiber service rep on the phones. And it was enlightening and disheartening at the same time to personally experience like that dire need for internet in our service area. So when I say I'm passionate about this topic, I'm really just passionate about it. So well, I'll be providing a brief overview first about how TrueStream came about, what services we offer, and some of our key achievements to date. And then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty details everyone's waiting for, which is TrueStream in Oceana County specifically, the Robin Grant, and then hopefully we'll have time for some questions. So let's start with why electric cooperatives are getting into the fiber business. Many internet service providers wouldn't serve rural areas because of the rough terrain, making it difficult and costly to build, and the low population densities obviously wouldn't earn enough profit to justify these costs to these businesses. Well, electric cooperatives were founded on providing service to areas where others wouldn't. So like the farmers that banded together in the 30s to bring electric to rural Michigan, we're bringing reliable high-speed fiber internet to our rural members who desperately need it. So through some feasibility studies in the very beginning, we found that around 45% of our members didn't have access to high-speed internet at all, which is crazy to imagine, and most of us know all too well that reliable internet isn't a luxury anymore, it's a necessity. So that's why we're doing what we do. So TrueStream launched in 2018 as a wholly owned subsidiary of Great Lakes Energy. And GLE is the largest rural electric cooperative in Michigan. And we're beyond proud to be the largest fiber to the home project in the nation, connecting the unserved and underserved within our 26 county service area. So we're on track to reach more than 100,000 homes and businesses in rural Michigan, improving lives and fostering economic development with future-proof fiber service. So what does TrueStream have to offer? What makes us different? Well, we're a local trusted company. We live, work, and play in the areas we serve. Our members are neighbors, friends, and family. Many of us experience the same broadband frustrations as you do and are also anxiously waiting for TrueStream. So we get it. We're building the most expandable fiber optic network capable of sustaining future growth and performance needs, making it the most future-proof option. We have no data caps, no more worrying about running out of data 2 weeks into your billing cycle. No contracts or hidden fees, unlike many of the other internet providers. We don't pass our costs down with installation fees, hidden charges, lengthy contracts, nothing like that. And we offer a symmetrical upload download speeds of 100 megabits per second to 1 gig at competitive prices. And because our fiber is built to the home, there's no sharing bandwidth with your neighbors, it's all yours. And we also offer 3 different residential plans to fit the needs of our subscribers, plus vacation rates and business plans. And GLE owns the fiber lines, which are installed on the cooperative's power lines. And we can utilize our own crews and staff to help maintain and make repairs. We have over 85 years of experience in maintaining 14,000 miles of infrastructure, which helps us in ensuring that the network will be stable. We also have an established trusted relationship with our 120,000 plus members, giving us that advantage over other internet providers who may not have that same relationship in our rural areas. And just real quick, these are the 3 residential plans that we have to fit our members' financial and bandwidth needs. Plans start as low as $63.99 a month, and that's for the 100 megabit per second, and our family plan, $73.99 a month. That's our 200 megabits per second. So family plan, pretty good deal because you get double the speed for $10 more a month. And then we offer the 1 gig plan, which is the Ultra, for $99.99 a month. And we also offer voice service. That's $34.99 a month. And if you bundle both internet and voice, you can save $5 a month. So as you can see on this slide, we've been really busy. So you should have, I did email, I don't know if you guys got copies of them in time or not, but I did send over a handout with these key achievements to reference. So we've built out about 43% of our network so far. We've installed over 4,750 miles of fiber, connected over 20,000 homes and businesses, and we've invested over $316 million in infrastructure since launching 5 years ago. We've added an additional 62 full-time jobs and contracted 135 employees. We have a 46.7% average take rate in our new areas, and about 55% in our mature areas where construction's already completed and we're active in those areas. And then we also have an 87.9% customer satisfaction score and 4.6 out of 5 stars on Google. So that was my quick overview on that stuff, and now for your area. So we'll dig into these details here, and on this map to the left, you can see the GLE service area covers over 70% of Oceana County. And the red circle is a general outline of our heart service area, which also includes a small portion of the Mason, Nuevo, and Muskegon counties. And if you visit our website, truestreamfiber.com, you can pull up the status map and you'll find this here, that shows our whole, this here shows our whole service area. And then each service area falls into one of the color categories over here on the right, depending on which phase they're in. And you can also search like a service address here to see which area and phase that address falls under. And then you can also use that information to check like the status of the timeline of construction and our monthly updates on our website as well. And then, so as you can see here, like this heart area here, which is green, means construction and those areas are completed and actively connected. And I'll get into that more here in just a minute. So just in Oceana County, we've constructed fiber service drops to over 4,400 locations. And if you're not familiar with the lingo of like the specific technical stuff, fiber service drop is the connection from the main line to the home. So that's what that is. And then once construction is complete, TrueStream will be available to over 9,200 locations. And to date, we have invested over $45 million in our fiber network here. And let's take a closer look at where. Here you can see the labeled green areas show where construction is complete. And then these three areas here, we're 1, 3, and 4. Those are the orange areas, and that's our future build. But that is on the construction plans for 2026 due to the Robin grants that were recently awarded. So after this construction is completed, then we'll just have the Walkerville 1 and Colfax 2 service areas left for future construction, and we won't have a timeline for that for a while, but as soon as we do, we'll make sure to let everybody know. So under the Robin grant, as everyone's pretty aware, back in March 2023, we applied for funding through the Robin grant and were recently awarded $46 million for expansion of our fiber network to 3 GLE service districts spanning 11 counties. And thanks to the support from many, if not all of you, and other community leaders in the area, one of our service districts was awarded, which was Scottville, and that includes Lake, Manistee, Mason, and Oceana counties. This particular project received just over $18 million in funding, and it will pass a total of 3,384 locations. The Robin grant related work specifically in Oceana County is an additional investment estimated at $7 million, approximately $2.5 million of which will be grant funded and includes 61 miles of fiber line connecting 405 unserved and underserved locations in Kentwater, Weir, and Hart townships. And that's the gist of everything. I know we usually have quite a few questions, and I wanted to make sure I got through everything fairly quickly so that we would have time for that. I know time's limited, so but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Well, so it sure seems like we're in good shape, especially compared to our friends to the north. I see a lot of yellow in our friends to the north, the counties to the north, and we're mainly green, which man, that's a huge blessing. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're getting closer, that's for sure.
And so 2026 is when you expect the Weir, Pentwater, Hart Township areas to be completed.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
And I did send over a copy of where those locations are on a map.
Yeah, see that.
Okay.
Mr. Hardy, can I invite our committee members to
Sure,
ask questions
absolutely.
that they may have too? If you have any, do you have one, Chris? Dean?
No, I think we're in very good position between Great Lakes Energy, and you heard a presentation from Marilyn Passmore from Charter Spectrum about 6 months ago. Apparently she would like to come in and speak again. They're starting their construction in their, what they call RDOF, Rural Development Opportunity Fund areas. Some of the areas, when Casey presented that, Casey, can you present that map back, the overall? Yeah,
Here or the,
that one there, that's good. You'll notice in the southeast corner of the county, it's white, that's basically consumers' power area. I mean, there's consumers in other areas within Oceana County, but that's the primary area that consumer serves, and that's one of the RDOF areas that Charter
Consumers want,
Spectrum is
or Charter, yeah.
proposing to expand in that area with their service. So in terms of coverage, by 2026, I think we'll probably have 95% of the county. It's interesting that, and Casey, maybe you can answer this, but I've got a map prepared by E911 that shows actual lines of Great Lakes Energy. And there are literally holes, maybe a half-mile by half-mile hole that's Consumers Energy has, and it's surrounded by Great Lakes Energy. Right. And so those areas will not be served until Great Lakes, their intent, correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, until they get their build out of the entire county. The only option.
so you're talking about non-GLE members?
Yes.
It's a little hard to hear you, sorry. So, yeah, right now we're focusing solely on our GLE members and getting them all connected to complete our build up. And at that point, then we'll consider expanding out beyond that service area.
So in the interim period, the only service that's available to them would be satellite service like Starlink or
Right.
something else.
Because we're pretty much following our own power lines. We're using our existing infrastructure to build it.
Downtown Mears. Downtown Mears is consumers, right in the middle, it's, yeah.
That's, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
But otherwise, I think we are in great shape, and Great Lakes Energy has been a blessing.
Yeah.
To take on providing broadband service to its customers.
Right.
And to complement that, speaking for the Valley work, having that higher internet capability, higher speed internet capability can be a huge attraction for businesses in the area as well.
And homes, people.
Homes as well, but I'm hearing more and more lately that businesses need that reliable internet and need to know that it's there to be able to move their headquarters to our area, so.
So Casey, you said that it's been 5 years since you guys started this program. And I'm looking at how much has been done in 5 years. It sure seems like is this like a 20-year project for you guys and all?
It started out as, we knew beginning, when we launched the pilot program, that if we continued expanding, that it was going to be an 8 to 10 year project. And I'm hopeful for the 10 years.
It just, when I look at how much has been done in 5 years compared to how much still has to be done, it looks like it's gonna be 15, 20 years. I mean, you guys have plans to hire more people to be able to fill all those other needs? Or,
We have been, we have hired, new, obviously, funding is one of our resources that's a little limited. So these grants obviously are a huge help, but yeah, I don't know exactly what the plans are for, expanding that workforce in the coming years. But I would imagine we'll continue, as we continue to grow, that will, and a lot of like the trunk line and the main line and to the house, like all the outside construction is mostly, subcontracted. So I don't know if it's a matter of like who's available to do the work, and go through the vetting process and who's qualified and everything. Like, I'm not sure what the plans or the process for that is, but I can look into that more for you guys and get back to you.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really impact us, it looks like, it's more other areas, so it's not as, you know, I'm just more curious. So we got this $1.6 billion BEAD money coming in. What, do you guys have some plans for that already laid out that you are privy to that you can share with us, or is that proprietary or whatever, you know, you can't share that yet?
So I know we've been involved with conversations about that from the very beginning. From what I understand, we weren't as, and I don't know if it's changed since then, but to our understanding, it was possible that the BEAD funding was only going to be provided for like, shared lines, and that's something that we're not open to having those, kind of relationships and partnerships, because it's our electric infrastructure as well, and obviously there's some issues with that, so, I don't know exactly, if that's been taken off the table and it's not gonna be a requirement, or how that's going, but I can look into that more too as well, and, get you an update on that. I haven't heard anything recently, so I'm not sure where we're at on that.
Okay, thank you.
But if it's a viable option for us, absolutely we'll be going for some funding.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
No, I think we're good. Thank you, Casey, appreciate it.
Great, well, I appreciate you guys letting me come to talk, so, I'm always open to any questions that you guys might have, that come up in the meantime too, so feel free to reach out anytime.
Great, thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
This is Mr. Tiffany gonna be Zoom?
If I can,
Okay. So request for change order to professional service agreement for the Crystal Valley Dam 2024-23. And I think we're gonna do it Zoom. Mr. Tiffany?
Enjoy your time, thanks, in the warmth. Enjoy your time in the warmth.
I don't even on there yet, so.
No.
Has he texted you back? Well, then I will just minimize that for now, and then you guys can talk about it, so. Okay. We will wait.
That was included in your package. Anybody have any comments, questions?
I did have that in the packet.
Yes, Mr. Bates.
I know this isn't the case, but I'm a little bit frustrated with this because I almost feel like a bait and switch here. Everyone around this table knew that there were voids underneath that dam, and I would have thought that this type of inspection process would have kind of been assumed. So I'm a little bit frustrated with another $12,000 request on top of what we've already approved, with the knowledge that was already there. Maybe Mr. Tiffany wasn't aware of that. I think from the inspection reports from that dam, the inspection reports from the drain commissioner's office and the information from the previous, study, that was done. I'm a little frustrated, but, yes.
I just wanted to point out that change order, the amount is up to $21,000.
It's basically three sections, lump sum of $4,750, observation of contractors, which is $175, estimated to be no more than 3 days of work. And billed at our cost, estimated to be $11,960. That was three items.
But
You have Mr. Tiffany on.
Good morning.
There you go.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so should I start out by giving a little background information?
Please do.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if all of you have been out to the Crystal Valley Dam or not. Let me just describe the spillway there as part of background information. The spillway at the dam is a concrete overflow spillway. It starts up at the lake level, and then it goes past the crest of the embankment, and then it dives down to the level of the creek and flattens out. The spillway has a concrete floor and concrete walls. And down at the bottom end of the spillway, where it flattens out, there's a construction joint there. And water has been exiting from that construction joint and carrying sand with it. We see evidence of sand on the floor of the spillway downstream of that joint, and that's been happening for years. So the concern that I had as I completed some investigation work out there and thought about it was that this sand is coming from under the spillway itself. So to test that theory, back in November, I think it was November 19th, we drilled 3 holes in the floor of the spillway up at the top just before it dives down. And we took a 6.5-foot probe rod with a handle and pushed it down in through the holes we drilled in the concrete. And the purpose of the probe rod is to test the resistance as you push it down. It gives you some idea of the density of the soil that the probe rod is going through. So there was a little bit of resistance up near the top, in the top layer of soil just below the concrete. But after that, the probe rod just very little resistance. We were able to push it down just very easily through the soil layer, which indicates a very low density of soil below the spillway. So my recommendation is to hire Soils and Structures to do some further investigation to determine the aerial extent of that low density soil and also the depth of that low density soil, because they have equipment they could go 20, 30, however deep they need to go to identify the depth of this issue with the low density soil. My concern is that I suspect this low density soil below the spillway is a pretty large area. And my concern is actually if there's a big flow of water over the spillway, that at some point that spillway could settle and ultimately collapse because it's unsupported. So my suggestion is, in the interest of dam safety and preserving what you have, is to move forward with further investigation and remediation as quickly as possible to address this issue and to ensure the safety of the dam. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Beggs.
Mr. Tiffany, I before the Zoom meeting started here, I was just giving some of my thoughts that the sand piping and whatnot that's been evident on that dam for quite some time has been common knowledge. I find myself just a little bit frustrated. I'm curious to hear from your perspective. With the change order, obviously it's a significant cost increase. Why it wasn't really foreseen that this might be needed to begin with, I guess is the fair question I'd like to ask.
Yeah, you know, I'd say that's a fair question, and you know, it's in the engineering consulting world, it's really challenging sometimes to know the scope of work that will be required without undertaking some investigation. And you know, this issue of the sand piping, I guess I hadn't understood that it had been going on for years, but we received documentation from the engineer at the Drain Commission, which shows that when he started his monitoring, I think it was in early 2022, he noted evidence of sand at that point in time. So I guess hindsight is 20/20, obviously, but it's very difficult sometimes to understand the full complete scope of work without getting into it and doing some investigation.
Okay. Yep. None of us can see underground, right?
That's for sure.
So, Mr. Tiffany, this is I echo what Tim. I had the same concern. There's the same, semi frustration that he didn't. So, my question moving forward is, what other potential? And I know you can't look in the crystal ball. What other potential issues will there be where we need to do more testing, and how much is that going to cost? And the cost of testing and diagnosing and all that is going to keep going up. That's my concern. And then which is going to raise, and then the remediation piece is going to go up too. So what other sorts of studies may need to be conducted, or is that the only one that, what you have before us that you propose to us? Is that it as far as studies go, or do you see that there might be more?
So in terms of investigation, what the work that Soils and Structures does should identify for us the areal extent and the depth of the problem. They're giving us cost per foot prices. Hopefully we can get by with less drilling than what's in their proposal. It could be a little more, without being out there and getting into it, it's going to be hard to say. Let me just talk about the remediation piece for a little bit. So what I anticipate for remediation will be hiring a company that does that does a special type of work where they inject the polymer material into the soil. They'll stick an injection point down in, and they'll inject a polymer. There's different ways they can do it, but what I anticipate is that they'll withdraw their injection point as they inject the polymer, and they'll need to do that in enough area. Hold on just a second, my phone is. They'll do that in enough, they need to do that in enough of an area to tighten up the soil and decrease the permeability. So it's not an inexpensive process. It's a very specialized type of construction, and it will be costly.
So I'm curious, and now you've been out there, you've conducted a study, what would you say is a range of the cost of repairing the dam? Like best case scenario, the lowest side, and then the absolute highest side that this may cost us, and then the probable amount. You know, I know it's hard to guess completely, but just give us a range so we know what we're looking at.
So until we complete the subsurface investigation and we know the aerial extent and the depth of problem, it's going to be impossible really to even give a preliminary cost estimate on it.
I mean, the one study.
So that's one of the purposes of the subsurface investigation, is to determine exactly what volume of material we're going to need to be working with here.
In that one engineering study we had done, it was like, I don't remember the exact amount, like $600,000, $700,000, somewhere in that range. I mean, if it's is that about right? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact number,
but it's up there.
It's up there.
So is that probably then because of the issue that the soils and structures will be studying? Like, is it that expensive to fill it with that polymer that you're talking about?
So I don't remember exactly what scope of work they were proposing. I don't think that was part of what they were talking about doing. Paul, do you remember exactly what
they were talking about some grout pumping, but I don't think it was
I don't
to the same extent.
They didn't have the polymerization, I do know that, but, yeah, those estimates were up into nearly $1 million, the first ones we saw from Spicer.
So we can, what I suggest, what I recommend is that we do this subsurface investigation. We figure out the area, the depth that needs to be remediated. We talk to some contractors, we get some initial ideas from them on what they think the cost would be. Even before we put a bid package out there, we can have some informal discussions. And then we can come back to the board and talk about what we have learned and what we think the cost will be, and we can make an informed decision at that point in time, rather than just a wild guess. That's what I'm recommending, is that we get a little more, we get more information, so we have a deeper understanding of what's going to be involved.
Yes, Mr. Bates.
So just two follow-up questions, and this really is to the board members, somewhat in defense of where Mr. Tiffany's at. So one thing that I face on a daily basis is being tasked with the diagnosis. And so we have to remember, Mr. Tiffany didn't build the dam, and he didn't buy the dam, and he didn't break the dam. So we've hired him. So I'm somewhat defending even my own concern at the sticker shock, but we have hired him to diagnose the dam. And so, you know, he didn't cause any of this further damage, and neither did we, but it's our dam. And so if we want it diagnosed, we're gonna have to pay to have it diagnosed. On the flip side, Mr. Tiffany isn't a contractor either. So we've hired him to put together a list of what is needed, and then the cost question comes after we get the list of repairs and they go out to bid to contractors. So, Mr. Tiffany, I'm glad you didn't answer that, Mr. Morris' question, just because I don't think it's not because it was a bad question, but it's outside your scope. You don't own an excavator and a polymer injector, so it's very difficult without having an intimate knowledge of what's required to complete that task to give a ballpark estimate. So it is what it is.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes, Mr. Walker.
Yeah, so in the engineering field, I say a quick answer is usually a wrong answer. And that's because until you have all the information, you really can't give a definitive answer to a lot of questions.
Mr. Walker?
Good morning, Mr. Tiffany. That's Bob Walker. Thank you for the work you've done so far. I have some concerns, like have been expressed here today, and I took a special interest when you mentioned the polymer injecting in there, because last Tuesday night, I'm one of the Oak Island junkies, and last Tuesday night on the Curse of Oak Island, they were injecting polymers underground to seal water from coming into a vertical shaft that they put in that was 65 feet down in the ground. It seemed like the same process that they were doing. They were injecting large amounts of polymers to seal that out. Very, very interesting to see how they were doing it and how it was done. But for what we're doing now, I can see the logic in moving forward on this part of the engineering. But I hope that's the last of the engineering that we have to, change orders that we have to do. But by doing this, I hope it gives us the base data to be able to put it out for bids and make a decision when those costs come in on what we're gonna do with the dam. I think this is a step we need to take to see if it's feasible to save the dam and to work with the dam.
I agree.
But thank you, Mr. Tiffany.
Anybody else? Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, and we've known this thing for years. It's 1937 WPA dam. It's only one of two depression area New Deal projects in Oceana County, the other being in our post office on the wall, a mural. But that was put out in Crystal Valley, downtown, for a recreational pond when it was built, and replaced the shingle mill pond that was up on 128. But furthermore, we've heard about the title work for the land which is underneath the water, and there's a revisionary clause, and if you remember, we'd had Brian Monton do some title work on it. If we drain the pond and remove the dam, of which Department of Interior was there with the eel problem, they don't recommend us taking that eel barrier out. But if we drain the pond, then we'll have a whole nother can of worms that we'll have to sort out with who owns under the water. That's another pratfall in this process. I do believe still that repairing this depression era dam WPA project is in the best interest of the county. It lets sleeping dogs lie. It keeps that recreational pond there as it is, and as you had seen with Parks and Rec and the plans for the grant that Mr. Heisler had mentioned earlier, we've got a beautiful facility out there. It's well utilized by the people of Crystal Valley. And if you remember the title chain, it was owned by our county road commission for quite a period of time, and then it was deeded to the county, and it became part of the county board of commissioners. It's been a football. It's been kicked around for years. Proper maintenance, like you said earlier, to have dollars set aside for future maintenance is important. But the engineering that Mr. Tiffany has put in front of us is definitely a critical point in this. I've spoken with Dan Halleck and some others about possible remediations and I know that, Mr. Heisler could talk to DeWind Watering on some other remediation issues. I think it's in our best interest and for the people of Crystal Valley to continue this engineering, analysis so that we can put this out for bids, get a hard number, and find a way to save that dam, to keep the bottom land county property, and to, eliminate the eel problem going upstream. We've worked hard on it. Mr. Heislop's worked hard on it. He's worked with the adjacent landowners. The county has an easement that goes all the way around that pond, of which we really haven't exercised our right in that process for some of the growth that's grown at the water's edge. And we do have some wave lapping and some erosion that we'll have to address in this process. But it's a beautiful dam. Gorgeous walking down the creek, the fish that run the river and pool at the bottom of the dam, it's gorgeous. I think it's in our best interest to maintain and retain this very beautiful part of our history. And you know, I think it's easily saved. Remarkably, and Jim and I talked about it when we drilled those holes that day, the depth of the concrete's 14 inches when we drilled down through that spillway. It's almost an arch that is standing on its own without any soil holding it up. It's done it for years. I don't foresee any issue. It survived the 11-inch rain. It's an uncontrolled spillway, as Mr. Tiffany had mentioned, so there's no mechanical devices that are there to fail. I think it well deserves us going further in this in order to maintain and retain a very, very important part of Oceana County history.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing nothing, Mr. Tiffany, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your input.
Sure, let me just add one little thing here. And that is, we'll certainly need to draw the water level down for the remediation work. And it could be possible that we need to draw the water down ahead of time for dam safety reasons. And what I would foresee is a siphon type spillway that we could put across the top of the dam and down to the creek. That's something that I've done on other projects. It's pretty straightforward. It would be a temporary system for drawing the water down, and it would probably take some you know, labor to keep it going and restart it maybe from time to time. But I just wanted to throw that out there so that's not a surprise to anyone when we come to that point.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess if I can say one more thing.
Yeah,
The reason
With your permission, I'll sign off at this point.
Sure.
The reason I asked about the
Thank you.
minimums and maximums is, and it's a good point. I mean, yeah, you don't know until you get it all together, but we've gotten these estimates from that one Spicer, you know, where did they come up with it? So they had, I mean, these professionals can do at least some ballparking. And so what I'm at is, if this is gonna be a minimum of $250,000, I don't wanna spend $21,000 on it to study it more, because in my opinion, $250,000 is not worth it fixing the dam. And so that's where, I mean, then let's say this 21,000 and go somewhere else with it. You know, that's where I'm coming from. If it's likely gonna be, you know, when we first talked about this with Mr. Tiffany, you know, getting involved, you know, maybe about $100,000, you know, which to me would be more in the ballpark of something that I could support. So, you know, that's really the main reason I asked the question is I want to know, you know, is it worth putting $21,000 into something that I can't see supporting down the line?
Well,
if it's that much.
Unfortunately, that in order to get that number, you need to do this testing. That's the.
Well, I mean, he's probably dealt with a lot of different already people inserting the polymer and knows how much that costs. And I mean, I get it. I do. I understand. that was the crux of my question is.
Right, I agree.
And it's a valid question, it's just that we can't, what we don't want is to, Mr. Tiffany, to spitball and then get our investigation done and find out, well, it's doubled, because then everybody's mad. And,
Yeah, I understand why he didn't answer, I do, I get that, it's, because then you get pigeonholed, and I get that too, and people are mad.
I get asked day in and day out, well, just give me a ballpark. Until I've looked at, in my case, the vehicle, I'm not gonna give a ballpark.
So there's a difference between a spark plug and a cracked block?
Yep, there is.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not happy with the additional change order either, but I think in order to finally put it to rest, this is where we need to go. I mean, we can guess at it, and then once this information comes back, then that'll allow us to find out really what that cost is gonna be.
Well, and this will give us the final data that we need to make the decision.
Right.
The big decision that we've been talking about for 2 years and should have, you know, has been a topic of conversation for decades.
Right.
Can we repair this dam and make it feasible and safe, or does it need to be replaced or removed? Those are the three questions, and unfortunately, it costs a fair amount of money to get all the data we need to put this question to bed.
Right.
And I'll add too, looking futuristically on a maintenance program that we talked about, I'd like to see plans for that in the meantime, before we actually have to make that decision. That's gonna help my decision if there are plans for a maintenance program. That's gonna help me in my support of it. And that whether that's on August, putting on the ballot, the millage, a half mill or whatever for Crystal Township to, you know, I don't know, whatever, just the ideas that, you know, are out there, but I'd like to see that.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
Lastly, I'd like to say if we look at our claims that we have this meeting to approve, you know, we've got one for $1,700, you know, for the Pentwater Trail. We've got another community park down in Two of them, a community park for $130,000 to approve, realizing that there's a lot going on here. And there's a lot of it, and there's a lot of money being spent on engineering and other projects that we really don't see the money because it's not coming out of our checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
It's grant money and stuff, but these things aren't cheap. You know, I've been involved with the Soils and Structures on several projects. They're a very, very good company. And they're a very reputable company, but those things cost money. And I just think we need to take the next step. We've gotta have a definitive answer.
They'll answer all the questions at that point. Yes, Paul.
Well, and even furthermore, you know, and I'm not gonna harp on this ARPA thing anymore, but you know, with that ARPA infusion that we had, that we weren't able to repair dams, and we spent the money everywhere else except for the dam, and we didn't add to the parks like we thought we should. Maybe a parks millage is where we need to have these maintenance things carried forward in all of our park system. But then if we can get a hard number, I know that, and I know just what Tim's saying. I send stuff down to Tim's for a front end alignment, and I find out I need 2 ball joints and 3 tie rods, and it's not the $95 alignment, it's $585. So I understand the game. I understand the game between a $1,200 headlight and an $1,800 headlight and an $8,000 headlight. So don't ask me how much a headlight costs, because it might be $8,000. So when we get the hard number, when we know what we're gonna do, then Lee and I are gonna go out there and we're gonna find that money if the county doesn't wanna do it.
Yeah, Lee just got a job.
But Lee's worked very hard on it, and you know, have you been to the dam?
Oh yeah.
How beautiful it is and how serene that pond is, and the ball fields on Tuesday night when you get all the valley people come in and play ball and fish and picnic and have reunions. And if we drain that pond, the aura, the history, my dad swam in that pond as a 14-year-old boy. When we see this stuff disappear from our area, it's gone forever. And I would rather that we work hard to save this dam and do everything we can to save this dam, just like we did with the Congregational Church up the street in the City of Hart and Tifa. You know, I think it's worthy. it's very worthy. It's the only WPA project we've got in our county that's available for the people. And if you know what the Depression was, and if your parents were raised in the Depression, like mine were,
Grandparents, but yeah.
that was an important part of their life. That put a lot of people to work that were penniless and hungry. So I want to find the number.
Great, and I think we can do that with the final investigation. So,
Could I go up to the podium for a minute? Would that be all right?
you wanna wait for public comment? That'd be great. I'm gonna move on now real quick. Consideration to appoint Mr. Broderick to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term, 2024-04.
So there is an opening on the planning commission. Mr. Broderick was the only applicant that we received, and he was recommended by the planning commission, and that's what this is for.
Any questions or comments?
I think Mr. Broderick lives in, northern Oceana County, and it's, you know, not a bad idea to have somebody from out in the rural area in the northern part of the county.
And he would be part of the industrial part of the planning commission. That would be the area he would cover.
Just real briefly, I'm on the planning commission. He was interviewed, and he did a great job answering his questions to him. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of experience in the industrial area and economic development, and what he did down in the Missouri area. I think he'd be a good addition.
Anyone else?
And Brian has extensive knowledge of concrete and the concrete industry, and his family has been a Pentwater family. So he's not new to the area. He does have some roots here.
Excellent. All right, Minister Biard, consideration to approve a budget adjustment to correct current budget 2024-05.
If you recall, I had sent an email prior to the end of last year, letting you know that there was some funding that had been included in the budget that should not have been for a administrative sergeant position. The Board of Commissioners did not approve that during our budget process, and had asked that I come back after the first of the year to have that those funds removed from the 2024 budget. And that's what this budget adjustment is for, is to remove those funds. And just to let you know, that would reduce the fund balance portion of use of fund balance to 0. Any questions on that?
No, I think that was in the supplemental package. All right, no questions. Moving on, Mr. Biard again, the consideration to adopt resolution 2401 to support tunnel-based solution project.
So, I was contacted about a project that is happening on M20 there by Lewis Farms, tunnel-based solution project that will take care of some safety issues out there. There's people movers that move the people back and forth across M20, and this tunnel would alleviate that, and they are asking for support, not financial support, but support from the Board of Commissioners.
Living close to that area, all you have to do is drive down M20 in a weekend in the fall of the year, and you'll realize the need for this. We have been very, very fortunate that there hasn't been something very tragic happen there. And it's a growing industry, and the Lewis family has a tremendous amount of money invested in that operation there.
Yeah, and this particular resolution, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read it, is really just supporting that there is no financial obligation to the county at all for this. So.
Yeah, and Scott Lewis has just done a magnificent job of building that. You know, it's really neat to go by and see what Scott's done down there on M20, and the participation that he has in the community too. I think this is a great idea. like Bob said, when he started to park over there,
It's a safety concern.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Oh, we have, Mr. Biard, the software, increase.
Yes, so during the budget process, the board had approved for the, BSNA cloud-based program along with the timesheets. And that quote that we had received was like from 4 months ago. And so we had reached out to them and they have increased the cost by $18,080. And, we didn't sign that contract yet because, we needed to get approval from the board for those funds if that's what you choose to do.
How much was the original proposal?
It was 141. Increased to 159,080.
And is there a maintenance fee on that annually?
Yes, that's included with the BSNA, which some of that's gonna offset, our current rates, because we're already paying BSNA for our yearly rates.
This is software that runs pretty much the entire financial situation of the county, payroll
Yeah.
and
Correct.
all the things.
Not surprised there's an increase, but
They got ya.
They do.
just ask like EMS. Gotcha. Would that be 2024-08 then?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Biard, administrator's review for selected claims for payment and administrator's report.
So, the claims are provided for you. Did anybody have any questions on those? Okay, if not, I will move on. I did not have a report in the packet, but I did have some things that I wanted to report on just simply because those are items that came up, after the packets went out. The health department provided me the documentation to, get the health department building, run through the register of deeds. However, there were some requirements with regards to notaries and those types of things, and I got a hold of Kevin Hughes, and he is taking care of that for us, so we can get that filed.
Yes, but we need something authorizing me to be able to sign that.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Well, I hadn't received it back yet,
Yeah,
so I
but
was waiting.
When we take care of this, we should.
Yeah.
Kevin Hughes had asked me to sign it before over the holidays.
Okay.
And I said to ask Kevin if it was imperative that it done before the first of the year, and he said no. And I said, I do believe that I should have a resolution or a motion from the board allowing me to sign that documentation. Do my fellow members agree that it?
I agree. You wanna add that also as a 2024-09?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I met on Friday with the, some surrounding county administrators with regards to materials management. This is an ongoing process. And when we had talked about it, we had discussed possibly, having all of our boards, approve a resolution, stating that we were gonna work together as a collaborative on this. I provided each one of you a sample copy of that resolution. That's not something I want you to do today. I wanted you to give you a chance to read through that. And, but that'll be something that I would like to bring back to the board at the next board meeting. So, but there's, we did receive a bid from Windsor Deck. However, the group had decided that it would be in our best interest to see, put out an RFP and see, what bids that we did get back. Windsor Deck is still in the running, but we did wanna see, what we could receive from others, so, and we'll be providing that to the boards as well. the treasurer and I, and Jessica from my office met with the, county auditors yesterday, via Zoom. We went through some processes and some different things and, asked for them to change up a few things from last year, and they will be on site here doing some field work. So, they didn't do that last year, and I think it's gonna work out better for us.
Help, yeah.
And the only other thing I have is just to let you know that we are closed on Monday. For the holiday.
We are one?
We are closed on Monday for the holiday.
MLK Day.
All right,
That's all I have.
thank you. Department heads reports?
That's all on the public comment.
In about 2 seconds here, department heads. No department heads, all right, public comment.
So the Crystal Valley Dam exercise has gone on for about 2.5 years plus, or 2 years. And the whole problem goes back to a 10-year annual, we have to look at this every 10 years. And the money from the budget, whether it comes out of the county budget or parks or wherever we find the money, is always difficult to find. There's no doubt about it. So in an effort to try to stop this going forward every 10 years, we have to come to some solution. The dam can stay, that's fine. It's gonna cost some money to repair, we know that. A couple of things that Mr. Tiffany didn't say or didn't talk about were the tow drains are leaking on the earthen berm or the earthen dam. We know that that's the case too. Lee was out there when Spicer was there. We took a push rod and went down into the earthen dam and we found pockets and voids in that area. That was in the Spicer report. I think Paul might have been there too. We had talked about a little bit, a while back, we talked about sheet piling the whole dam, the whole edge of the dam. That was a fairly expensive process, if I remember. We also talked about building some type of a barrier that would basically support the water, keeping the water away from the dam. It's another possibility. But one of the other concerns that I have is the pond itself, or the impoundment as it's called, is actually solidified. It's silting over. There's not room in that pond right now for any amount of oxygen. I've not seen any oxygen level studies, but aquatic animals, fish, what have you, as Tim knows, and through his Lakes and Streams program and Phil, you've got to have a certain amount of oxygen in that area to really allow aquatic life to survive and to live. If I remember correctly, the Spicer program, or the Spicer brochure, or survey, came back with a maximum depth of 5 feet, which is not anywhere close to what you need to really support aquatic life. So if we're gonna take and repair the dam, which I hope we do, it's a great place, I love that park, and it has a lot of opportunities to go forward. But to consider it going forward, we've gotta really think about basically taking the bottom down 7, 10, 12 feet. It's gonna have to get deeper somehow, it's gotta have to be dredged. And we know from the Spicer report, that was about $300,000 if we could find, if it didn't have to go to a landfill. Yep. So these are things that we have to deal with. My main point to come forward with Bob Sovey when he was here was that this is something that reoccurs every 10 years. We have to find a way to get ahead of this. We have to have money in a budget or set aside somewhere to do maintenance on the dam. We really have the same problem at Gales Pond, and that's a different issue today I won't talk about. But we are gonna be, with federal money, we are gonna start the project at the Stony Creek Dam very shortly, and that's about $2.3 million to take care of all that. So there's a lot to be considered here. I know there's a lot of people that want to keep the dam. There is money, we can't find money, and Paul has looked high and low. I know you've talked to congressmen and probably the governor, I don't know, but trying to find money to repair a dam is very difficult. Replacing a dam, there's money for that. I don't know that that's the right option, but when you start looking at what the cost potentially will be this year, what's it gonna be like in 10 years? We may not, you might be here and you might be here in 10 years. I don't wanna have you go through this exercise again in 10 years. So I'll jump down off the soapbox.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Lee?
Thank you, Gary. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, positively could not. I think it was about a year ago, I stumbled over here at this first meeting, I said, how, you guys can't possibly make an informed decision by what you were hearing. I said, you need more information, so I commend you for the difficult questions that you're throwing out there, and the decision, it sounds like, to make the right decision. You're gonna get facts, you're gonna build a good blueprint and say, yes, we can do this with this foundation, these shingles, we got a 100-year house. As far as the dam goes, I haven't shared this with Gary yet, but I have been working with soil conservation, I have been working with the road commission, I've been working with the people that are putting silt into Crystal Creek that runs down to the dam. I've even joked with Paul Oman about getting a nice sign made that says Oman Island. It didn't go over well. But the fact is, we are oftentimes our own worst enemy, but we've recognized it. Now, just like you're getting information, you're getting details. I questioned your statement a little bit. I thought I'd read all the reports, not only from Spicer, but Preem Newhoff and maybe 30 years back. I haven't been able to find that report where they did the physical testing to find out how big the void was or how bad the soils were. So you guys you're biting the bullet, and the bullet's hot and big. Thank you. It's a big deal. Who knows how long I'll be around, but I've got a lot of stuff I'm stirring up, trying to leave a path forward. More importantly, we've got some good people coming in, younger people coming into the township, and we're setting up policies and procedures that are hopefully standard, where you can open up a book and say, how do I check to see if I need a spark plug or a new crankshaft and a set of pistons? So that's what we're doing in the valley. Thank you for what you're doing. Someday, yes, we should take the silt out of there and figure out how to keep more silt from getting there so that we do have a nice deep pond that can be swam in again. There's people kayaking and doing other things in there now. As far as the oxygen thing goes, I can't address that, but we are getting oxygen in the stream because of the waterfall, but we're probably not getting a lot coming down from the ripples of the water. So, big project, huge project. You guys are doing the right thing. Thank you. Not easy. Let's work together. I bet we can pull this off. Where are we gonna find the money?
We'll go find Cobb Moose's gold.
Ah, man, I have a metal detector, and you're right. The boys in Traverse City, they're crazy. Let's get them down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. Any other public comment this time? If not, I will adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee meeting, and we're gonna take a short little break before we start the regular board meeting.
So in I borrowed a book from Tracy, about county government, so I'm reading through it, found it very interesting. Back in 1913, there was an amendment put into the state constitution that allows the county to put in a quarter mil